All right. Thank you, Abby, for being willing to join me. So, will you just tell us a little bit about yourself and your family?
Okay, so I am a mom of three kids and I married my best friend. And I know everyone says that, but we have had to become each other's best friend. Um, I have, um, I run a bakery and I actually homeschool all three of my children because they're just so neurospicy that school will be harder for them than I would like. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
basics.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And I love that because I remember when we first met, I didn't really know anything about you, but as I started learning about your kids and just the different things that they deal with and have struggles with, I was like, wow, she has a lot and she's still like moving forward and doing these beautiful things. So I just really appreciate you. So, before we started working together, tell me about kind of where you were at in life. What were some of your frustrations or things going on?
So to give a little bit more background, I have my three kids, two girls and a boy, and my oldest daughter, um, the only of my kids that have an official diagnosis is my youngest, and he has autism and ADHD, and he also has a genetic condition called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. And all three of those really kind of connect. He also has scoliosis. So he is just kind of always had things. He's five. And then my middle child, who's 9, um, based off of what we know from my son and everything we went through with him, she has ADHD. And then my 13-year-old, once again, based off of what we know from my son, I'm pretty sure she's autistic as well. And my husband is actually he has the same genetic condition that my son does. That's how we discovered it. And he also um we've decided is neurospicy as well. He is probably on the autism spectrum. And when we first met, I had just barely gotten an official diagnosis for my son. And I was seeing all these other things in my other kids and in my husband. And in a way, it wasn't surprising because I could see like everything leading up to that. I'm like, oh, that makes sense. But at the same time, emotionally and physically, it was a lot at once. And it was very overwhelming. And I was very much in this space of my life's over. Like the rest of my life gets to be devoted to my children and my husband and making sure that they get where they need to in life and that they're safe. And even though I've been working on self-care, I'm going to put myself on the back burner because I don't know how to do anything else at this point. So that was very much where I was when we met.
Yeah, and I think that is a really key point because a lot of people that I do work with, that's where they're at. It's like, there's some sort of big diagnosis or something really major that they're like, how do I have anything in my life other than like daily making it through so everyone physically, logistically stays alive and like surviving,
Mhm.
and it's an awful place to live. Let's just be real,
Yeah,
right?
no, living in survival around my children's needs and my husband's needs actually gave me my own physical issues that I eventually had to have surgery on because I was not taking care of myself.
Yeah, and that is another huge point because yeah, I feel like that is so true. It's like when you're not, then you get to unfortunately bear those consequences. So what kind of made you decide to work with me, or like what was it that made that happen?
Um, Honestly, it was watching you work with your own child, your daughter. Because before I was a mom and when I was a younger mom, I used to be the mom that would look at other families in the grocery store and I'm like, I would never let my child throw a fit like that in the store. Why can't the mom just get it together and deal with her kids? Like I was very judgmental on parenting in general, but then I would look at special needs families and go, what is their problem? They just got to pull their crap together. They're fine. Um, and I have very much had to change my tune on that. And I just remember watching you work with your daughter, and I'm like, I would have killed my kids by now. Like, your amount of patience and ability to work through the things I've seen you work through, it was like, I need to learn how to do that for my own sanity. Like, I know it will help my children, my husband, but for my own sanity, I need to know how to do that too.
Mm, thank you. And I think that is so beautiful because that's exactly what I've seen you do. Like it's been really fun for me to watch all the changes that you've made. So how do you feel now after working with me? Tell me a little bit about like where you're at this point.
At this point, I don't dread getting up in the morning. I was getting very little sleep between my children's schedules and routines, and um, just kind of my own routines that weren't working for me. And so I really didn't want to get up in the morning. I honestly would hide in my room from my children. I would like set them down in front of the TV or go outside, and I'd like close my door and hope that they wouldn't find me for like an hour or two. And while there are still moments where I'm like, I need my me time, it's me time. It's not me hiding. And we actually, as a family, took our first family trip it's probably been 2 years since we took a family trip because of my youngest, and he just doesn't travel well. And when he has a meltdown in public or on people he doesn't know, my first response is like total panic, and we've got to get him out of here. And so hotels and anywhere public's always been hard for him. And we just went on our first family trip, like I said, in 2 years. And there were a few little moments where he's like, I don't want to do this. But the difference this time is I didn't lose my crap.
Mm.
And so because I was able to stay calm and work through it, he was willing to stay calm and work through it. We actually had a very fun and beautiful family trip for the first time ever.
I think that is amazing. Like seriously, because I mean, I know those moments, and I'm sure a lot of other women know those moments where it literally is a trauma when your child is out of control. You don't know what to do. You're like, we just got to get out of here. And so it's traumatizing. So the fact that you are at a place where you can take a beautiful family vacation, and even if there are these issues, like that you were able to stay out of trauma mode and still have a beautiful experience, I'm just like, that makes me so happy.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Another thing that I've really stepped into is I don't care as much. I still
mhm.
care a little bit. I'm working on it, but I don't care as much if he has a meltdown in the grocery store. People want to look at me, that's fine. Sooner or later, they're going to have their own experience with the child, whether it's theirs or someone else close to them. But they're like, oh, I get it.
Yeah.
So I will stay in my lane and have my experience with my child, and they can stay in their lane. And I really don't care as much. And that honestly takes a lot of the trauma out of it for me.
I think that's a really key point. That's beautiful. So, did you have any concerns about working with me before we started?
Um, I tend to be a fairly private person. And so I was like, I really don't want someone else to see my chaos. And it's kind of funny because a lot of people that know me decently well, they're always like, you're so well put together. And honestly, I don't feel like that. Um, there was a lot of chaos going on, and I'm like, do I really want someone else in the middle of my chaos? Do I really need someone else seeing how far low I can sink on the really bad days? And not that you're a judgmental person at all. I am just so worried that someone will look at me and go, you said that to your child? You didn't keep your crap together? Like, there's just this fear as a woman and a mother that if we don't have our shiz together, there's something wrong with us. And I didn't want someone else to see that there was something wrong with me.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. And I think that is like huge, really, because yeah, we would all prefer to just not let majority of people know how crappy of moms we are sometimes, or yeah, like you said, how low we get sometimes. But it is so normal, and but that was one of the beautiful things of working with you, is that you did let me in and you did let me see. And like for me, all I saw was like this beautiful strength of like you continuing to get up, continuing to go forward, and continuing to try. And so I'm like getting all teary, but I did. And so like that was really beautiful to watch.
Thank you.
Um, so how did you get over that concern of working with me? Like what did it take?
So, and I mean, this might just be a me thing. I do the thing that all little kids do at the swimming pool where they're like, oh, I can jump off the high dive. And they climb up there and they stand over the edge and they're like, oh, maybe not. And they go back and forward a couple times. And then you just have to close your eyes and jump, because I've been the person that's turned around, walked down the ladder, and then just sat out of the pool the rest of the time. And I just hit a point where I wanted more for myself. And so anymore, I'm just like, hey, like I'll check in with myself. Is this the right thing? If my answer is yes, I'm still scared to do it, I just close my eyes and jump. Because I know myself and I will chicken out. So.
Oh, that's so cool. And what a good analogy. Like that's a perfect visual, because I think we've all been to that point. Like, yeah, we're like, what did I choose to do and how do I get out of this? And I just have to go. So yeah, that's so true. Okay, so what have been the results of working with me? Because you've had some like huge things happen in the last few months that are like awesome. So share with us some of your successes.
So like I said, we went on this family trip. And I've had the capacity to step into my own business more. And I was able to help pay for a lot of this trip from my own business funds, which is the first time I've ever been able to do that. So that was more fun than anything that I could do that. I've had the capacity to actually work my business. I run my business from home, and so my children are always in my space. And I don't know if they just grew up a little bit or if it was because they could sense a shift in my energy. But they're really good at leaving me alone when I'm trying to work now, where before they needed something every 3 seconds. And we've been able to set up better routines so that they don't need me every 3 seconds. They're in a space where they can think a little bit more independently because I'm not scared to see what happens by giving them a little bit more freedom. Sleeping better at night. I feel better. My relationship with my husband has gotten better because when one child's having a meltdown and then at the same time the other child is asking 700 questions at once that she's asked a million times all day long, and you can't find the other one because she's hiding in her room reading, and your spouse comes in, he's like, what's wrong, how can I support you? And you're just like, F off. Like, it's not a good environment for a relationship to like thrive. It barely survives. And we've gotten to a point where we actually can communicate and we can talk and we get to enjoy each other's company versus here's the bills that need to be paid and whose doctor appointment is next. And with that, we've actually been more willing to step into some financial things that we didn't want to do. We were afraid to take some risks, and we finally got to a point where you're like, let's try it. And it actually paid off, and our financial situation and our doctor bills have decreased, which has been good.
Yeah. Oh, all of those things are just so cool. And I just love, like as you were talking about your husband, just from the outside perspective looking in, just watching that dance of like taking to doctor's appointments and just the support and the flow and seeing that relationship get even stronger. I think that is really cool. Okay, so tell us a little bit more about your business, because you obviously do bakery items, but tell us a little bit more, because it's really like exponentially grown the last little bit.
It has. So I do just things like cakes, cupcakes, cookies. I teach classes to little kids. Teens are really fun. My favorite thing that I do, because I do weddings and birthdays, but my favorite is what I call intuitive cakes. And it's basically I sit down with you, I kind of get a feel for who you are, what you like, and kind of just tune into who you are, into your energy. And then I create a cake based off of what's come to me and things that we've discussed. And sometimes while I'm creating the cake, I'll have messages come through and thoughts, and I'll write it down, and that gets delivered with the cake. And it's really fun because the cake kind of creates itself. Once I've done all the basics, it's just fun to see what happens.
Yeah, I remember when you did my intuitive cake, I was like blown away. And then when you explained it to me and like your process that you went through and different things that came up, I was like, yeah, that makes sense with what's going on, But it was so meaningful and so special to me. And it was like this cake of Jamie. And I was like, that is so cool.
But what I really love that shifted recently is that in order for me to do that, I kind of have to be in someone else's energy, but I need to not be tired. I need to not be interrupted. I need to not have my children's energy all over me. Like I need to be able to specifically focus in on this one person while I'm working. It's almost like a one-on-one session with someone else, and you need to be distraction free. And I love that I'm at a place and my family's at a place where they're like, oh, she has an intuitive cake, we should leave her alone. Because before I had to shield everyone else's energy, and there was a lot of tears, both on their end and mine, and a lot of smashed cakes that I had to just start from scratch because I would get so overwhelmed and honestly overstimulated. I really think that's been the hardest thing for me as a mom of all these neurospicies and married to a neurospicy, is that when they get overstimulated, I get overstimulated. And just recognizing in myself the overstimulus, that word, recognizing it and being able to work with it, it kind of diffuses theirs.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's really powerful. And that's what I love. I mean, as we were talking at the beginning of the conversation, it was like your life really was like just keeping the kids going and the family going, right? And I love that by working with me, like you're at this point where you're like, nope, they leave me alone. Like I have a minute to like actually do what I'm passionate about and not get as overstimulated. Because I mean, I obviously like you're still in your situation. I know you still, I'm sure, have moments. We all do, but
Days.
right. But for the most part, like you're actually being able to live like your beautiful, creative, gifted life, which is fulfilling, right? And I just think that is so glorious, and not even just a gift for you and your family, but a gift for other people too, that they get the benefits of your gifts. I think I said gifts like 10 times there, but there you go.
All my
Um,
gifts,
yes, all
all
your
of
gifts.
them.
So, what would you say to someone who's kind of on the fence about working with me? What advice would you give them?
Just jump off the diving board and do it.
Mm.
You have absolutely nothing to lose and all your sanity to gain.
I love that. I might put that as like my slogan.
Yeah.
That is awesome. Well, thank you so much. Do you have anything else that you want to add or say before we close?
Just that I really enjoyed working with you. I've enjoyed how patient you've been. And because there have honestly been some days where I have come to you, I'm like, I don't effing care anymore. Or I need you to hold my hand while I just sit here and cry. And I had been in a space where I didn't want to ask for help because I had asked people closest to me for help. And they either one didn't understand because they're like, your kids are fine. I'm like, yeah, because they're behaving right now. You've not seen anything yet. So they don't understand, or they honestly just figure that because I look like I have it together, I'm fine. And it's honestly been a huge blessing in my life to be able to just kind of even drop my own mask and go, here is my shiz. Please help me figure out what to do with it. And have someone come from a completely non-judgmental, loving space and willing to hold that space for me has honestly been a blessing. So thank you.
You are so welcome. It's been beautiful to watch and to be part of. And where can they find you if they are interested in an intuitive cake from you?
So I'm on Facebook, Abigail Everingham, or Sprinkles and Sweets is on Facebook, and I'm in the process of getting my website up, and I will just connect it to my Facebook.
Okay, beautiful. So Abigail Everingham, Sprinkles and Sweets, or you can obviously come to me and I will direct you to her. So thank you so much for meeting, and I will talk to you soon.
Okay.